All right, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Kiali Sprint 100 community meeting and demo. And on the end of this sprint, we'll release Kiali version 1.78. And for this demo, we have this agenda. We will go through the summary of Sprint 100. We will show the Kiali highlights, which will be released, and we will go and preview the next sprint, what we have in our backlog, and we will have a time for community discussions. Okay, in this Kiali 100 sprint, we have worked on, we have done around 56 tasks. We have some epics and tasks which are in progress and are in review, and we have some backlog items. The mostly work was done on Kiali repository, but we also have done work on Kiali service mesh plugin, as well as in Kiali IO documentation. We will talk about that later, what we have done there. So Kiali 178 highlights. One major feature is adding multi-primary in a multi-primary support, and I will ask Nick to do demo and tell what was done for the multi-cluster. Nick?
Sure. Thanks, Hike. Yeah, so you can see some of the details here on what multi-primary support entails, but from a user's perspective, it just means that you should be able to configure Kiali in multi-cluster mode with the multi-primary deployment. So I'll just try to summarize like some of the nuts and bolts here. Kiali for a while only connected to a single Istio and got some information from there like proxy status and services in the service registry. But with multi-primary, you need to connect to multiple different primaries. So the support that was added was enabling Kiali to do that. And this should help in single cluster as well in the future for things like automatically detecting revisions and handling revisions better. But there's some more work going on for that in the future with regards to updating the mesh page. So if you go to the next slide. Yep, I got a short demo showing the multi-primary setup.
I will stop sharing my
Right,
screen so you can continue.
Let's see. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, so here I've got Kiali set up to talk to multiple primaries. So I've got a west cluster, I've got an east cluster, and each it's running its own control plane. You can hover over the labels and see that this one's in network west, this one's in network east, so they're two different control planes. And if I go to my graph, you can see what you'd expect, which is I've got unified metrics in this deployment, so I can see my entire graph across both clusters. Here I've got my reviews demo where part of it's deployed in the west cluster, and everything is as you would expect there. One thing that is different for multi-primary is that there's Istio config in both clusters. So with primary remote, if you were to go to Istio config, and let's say your primary cluster was your east cluster and your remote cluster would be west, you wouldn't see any entries in here for west. Now we can see Istio config in our west cluster. So you can go in, you can edit this, add annotation here, annotation, and that works like you'd expect. So there's not a lot to demo, but it the real feature here is that Kiali works with multi-primary now, and you can see that in the Istio config page, and if you go to the mesh page, you can see there's multiple clusters configured here. And I think that's all I wanted to highlight for all the multi-primary stuff. Any questions or anything like that?
Thank you, Nick.
All right. Thanks, Ike.
Okay. One more change which we had in this sprint was getting a new design for API documentation feature for workloads and services. On a tooltip, on information icon, when the API documentations are configured on that particular workload or service, now it got a new design. It has a new logos instead of badges and better alignment, which is well visualized. Okay. Then for Grafana tempo integration update, from last sprint, we had an ongoing task, and on this sprint, it is finished. So gRPC client is supported. We also have an improvement in performance of searching traces. There is a new configuration options available, and it's documented in kiali.io. Another feature was in the wizard of creating Istio configs from Istio config list page. Now it's possible to provide the labels and annotations while creating Istio config. So no need to go to create the Istio config, then go to the YAML editor and add the labels or annotations. Then we also have some notable changes in this sprint. We have one security enhancement. Kiali operator pod now runs with read-only root file system enabled. For the multi-cluster, we have increased the test coverage. We have several UI alignment fixes. Then for hotel tempo exporter, we have now TLS support enabled, and it got a new configuration settings, which is documented in kiali.io. You can see the link to this. For workload details log tab, we have improved the checkboxes, and for graph page, the edge customization is removed now. And in mesh topology view, we have progress still. We will show it on the next sprint. Then for sessions, we set secure attribute on session cookie. And we have several bug fixes. For traces, for Jagger, the traces filter is fixed. If you had a bug on that, then for tempo traces, hovering on the trace was causing flickering. Now it's fixed. The trace is stable located. Then linking to trace was not always opening the trace details. It is now fixed as well. On graph, we have node decorations, and on Kiali on Kiali services and workloads, now it shows own traces as well. So the next part of our demo is the next sprint 101 preview. We have some backlog items to do for the next sprint, and we have ongoing epics, 7 of them, on which we will continue working on the next sprint. So that's it from Kiali Sprint 100 demo side. Thank you, everybody.